Mandy, I think you're on mute, but don't worry. We are going to, let me first kind of introduce the agenda for the day. We have several representatives from the state of Massachusetts here. Many of them are youth. We call them youth ambassadors. They are all here from the state of Massachusetts, representing their state, and then also joining the program for this week. And then they also wanted to introduce themselves to you, and then talk a little bit about what matters to them, why they're here. And then I think 25 minutes will go by very fast, but we also really want to hear from you in terms of, I think, please, give them some guidance on what do you think is the best way to engage with their leaders and their representatives on the Hill. For many folks here in the room today, this is their first time ever speaking with somebody who is representing them. So this is a really unique opportunity, and we, again, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you. So, Mandy, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to ask the UCA leadership to introduce UCA. I will ask you to introduce yourself, and then we will go to the representatives from the state of Massachusetts. So I'm going to first turn over to Mr. Jing Liang Cai, who is the board chair of UCA.
Hi, my name is Jin Liang Cai. I'm the board chair for UCA this year. UCA is a national coalition of grassroots-based Chinese organizations. And every 2 years, we host an annual convention. And this year, there are more than 500 people who will come to the convention, representing 32 states across the country. So we want to use this convention as an opportunity for our members and supporters to talk to their representatives and to express their support, their concern regarding resolutions on the current Congress. And so I'm going to give the mic to Wong Hua, who is from the district where Ms. Warren is.
Wait, Gina, may we please ask Mandy to first introduce herself? And then Mandy, before we ask you to introduce yourself, Jay, can we pan over to the room? Everybody wave to Mandy. Everybody wave to Mandy. Okay, thank you, Mandy. So, Mandy, please introduce yourself.
Thank you all so much for meeting with me today. My name is Mandy Smithberg. I'm the Defense Policy Advisor for Senator Warren. And I appreciate you all so much for reaching out to us and for your engagement. I'm sorry that it's not in person, but looking forward to hearing what you have to say today.
Thank you. Now can we turn to Mr. Wong Hua, who will introduce himself and then talk a little bit about what motivates him and why is he here today.
Hi Mandy, how are you? Yeah, so I'm from Lexington, Massachusetts. And so I'm here, I'm also representing, several organizations in Massachusetts, including Lexington. And, Jing Liang just talked about the UCA. We also have a chapter in Massachusetts called the UCMA. I'm the co-president for UCMA. And we also have a New England Chinese American Alliance, and I'm co-chair for that. My co-chair here is Chen, is in the audience. And I do like to make a few connections. So when Senator Warren, before she even became the senator, her first fundraising was held in Lexington. And I was there with her and her team. And of course, since then, we've been working with her office, and most importantly, we're actually also working with her protege, Michelle Wu, for many of the things here in Boston and in Massachusetts. Yeah. So very glad that actually I was thinking about the last time I bumped into Senator Warren was on the campaign trail for Michelle. And so Jing Liang mentioned we held our national convention every 2 years, but 2 years ago one of them was canceled by COVID. So in 2018, we actually made it to your office. So that was on the day when the Justice Brett Kavanaugh was heard the confirmation. And we were there in your office. We talked to a number of people there, and there was a lot of TVs and cameras in the Senate building. But anyway, thank you here. So what I'm going to do here is going to be passing the mic to a number of members, from Massachusetts, and they will going to be say a few things about what's on their mind and what we're hoping that Senator Warren we can work with your office to achieve.
Hi, Maddie. My name is Billy Zhang. I use the E-Series. I'm from Malden, Massachusetts, so that's fun. And I am a current college student at Tufts University, and I'm a rising college sophomore, so yeah.
Oh, hi, my name is Angel Liang. I'm a rising junior in the 4th Congressional District of Massachusetts. I live in Sharon, and it's really nice to meet you.
Hi, my name is Julie Hong. I'm from the 4th Congressional District, and I'm a rising sophomore in Wellesley High School.
Hi, my name is Jerry Daw. I'm from Palm School, Connecticut. I also live in Newton. So I'm glad I'm here today and volunteer for this job. So, yeah.
Okay, so before we get started, Mandy, can we ask you a question about your connection to Massachusetts besides Senator Warren?
Yes, absolutely. So my mom was born in Lowell, and I went to Smith College in Western Mass.
Wow, okay. So Billy, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, I'm from Malden, Massachusetts, and Malden is a city that is very diverse. But basically, we have a 25% population who is Asian American, but I think specifically Chinese American. I grew up in high school where most of my peers were Chinese American, and I think for us, many of us, we didn't really see ourselves represented in the curriculum in our high school high school history classes, and I think that really had an impact on our mental health because we have a lot of stereotypes such as the perpetual foreigner, the modern minority myth that is pretty much determined by examining American history, and I think for us it's so important to be able to learn about that, and I think we need to know our histories in order to better protect our civil rights, and I would really like to see Massachusetts congressional delegation work to address inclusive education. I know right now in Massachusetts we have the Fair Share Amendment, which is the upcoming ballot question in November, and I really appreciate Senator Warren's support in the Fair Share Amendment. I know she was in Malden a few weeks ago to actually kick off the canvas, so it's very exciting. And I think we need to increase that budget in terms of making sure we have resources allocated for inclusive education so that we're able to, I think as Chinese Americans, better understand ourselves, but also for our allies to better understand our histories and kind of what our people and what our ancestors have gone through. And I think that's such a forward path to protecting the civil rights. And I think going back to my hometown of Malden, where most of the Chinese American population doesn't really vote or participate in local elections. And I think I would really like to see Congress and the congressional delegation work to address programs across Massachusetts gateway cities or cities with high Asian American populations to ensure that we have those parameters in place and make sure that we have specific poll workers that are dedicated to serving the Chinese American populations, the Asian American populations, and to ensure that we are included in the local government, because all of the change happens locally, and we want to make sure that all of us are included. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Billy. So now we get, so can you?
Of course. Okay, so I'm actually from Minnesota, and I moved here right before COVID started, so like around 8th grade. So my experience in living in Massachusetts is probably very different than a lot of people here. But coming from Minnesota in a predominantly very rich white town, and moving to Sharon, Massachusetts, which is suburban Mass, it's been a very different experience being exposed to more religions, more races, and I think I want that to be also represented in our local government. So I am 16, soon 17, so voting is also a very important issue for me. I know this year, a lot of our high school seniors were coming around for people to pre-register to vote, and I think when I saw them doing that, that really spoke to me, and I think it's very important for a lot of young Chinese Americans to be civically engaged, because a lot of us have immigrant mothers and fathers who are not citizens of the United States, who never voted, and so that's why I think it's very important for us second-generation immigrants who don't have parents who vote, but still should be civically engaged with our government.
Yeah, sorry. Hi, I'm Julie Hong, and as I mentioned, I'm a rising sophomore at Wellesley High School, and both of our main concerns actually are about how Chinese Americans are always under pressure, right? Both outside pressures such as the US-China relations, the tension between the two countries, the two cultures, and racial injustice, I guess, and hate crimes against us, and also internal pressures reinforced by stereotypes such as as Billy mentioned, the model minority myth, things like that, and pressures from our own families. And so we want to focus specifically on the current US CIA bills. And the community really appreciates the efforts made by congressional leaders in boosting up STEM investments, solving supply chain shortage, and science technology development in America. However, the current and possible future bills can single out the Chinese community as a target for racial profiling, increase fear and war, and add to hate crimes and hostility against the community in a Cold War atmosphere. And such mentality can hurt current international collaborations and stall progress made by global communities. And so that is one thing that we both really wanted to address and for everyone to consider when addressing these bills, right?
Thank you, and so why don't you continue?
Yep. Hi, my name is Jerry Daw, and I'm currently studying in Pomfret School, Connecticut. I'm a high school student. I'm 17 years old. So what I want to talk about today is more about the budget request for the support here. So the U.S. government can give $5 million funders to our community, which is not enough because we have $5 million for our Asian community here. So we request is about $2.5 million for Young Focus Initiative for FY and $30 million community funding, which would be more realistic for our Chinese community here. And that's what I want you to answer the question about this part.
Okay, Mandy, as you heard, actually the overwhelming situation here, there's so much concern in our community about anti-Asian hate crime and incidents and so on and so forth. And so all these congressional bills and the things that they all they are, of course, one understanding is for the U.S. national interest, but at the same time, and they are creating an atmosphere and putting our community at edge. So that's really the ask for the many of the voices here. And for one thing, I think you might be aware there is a KPAC. So that's the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus. And then they have members from both the House and the Senate. And on the senator side, I think like Tammy Duckworth and Hirono, they are on the executive team. And so we're hoping on the many of the congressional bills, legislations, and Warren's office, Senator Warren's office can reach out to the KPAC and working together, and because they are sort of like the body in the Congress, both the House of Representatives, senators, and hear the community voice for us, and so to safeguard many of the interests here. So that will be as we hope. And so they do have a membership called the social members, and several senators are there as well. So we will be thrilled to see Senator Warren's office or Warren join that, become affiliated, and so that way we know that the voice and the concern of our community, will be duly heard and paid attention to. Yeah. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, let me explore that. I wanted to say, broadly, the senator shares a lot of the concerns that you all have raised about particularly the heated rhetoric that we are seeing and how it's incredibly damaging to, I would say, to everyone, but obviously particularly to this community. And I think it's so important that you all are engaging with members of Congress and their staff to say that there is a real harm to the way that we are framing things. Spending that we're going to be doing through UC, spending that we should be doing because it is good for the United States, full stop. We don't need to put this in the context of a threat. This is going to be what's going to make us stronger as a nation, what's going to make us a better global partner in any number of arenas. So I certainly hear you there. On the youth voting point, the senator has actually just introduced legislation to try and make it even easier for young voters to engage in the system. On some of the curriculum issues, the senator is supportive. There's only so much we can do at the federal level, obviously, but certainly consider us a partner. those issues. But again, I just can't underscore, particularly with the senator's position on the Senate Armed Services Committee, just the kind of rhetoric that we hear day in and day out, that we justify, a really large Pentagon budget, but don't look at how we can be funding communities here at home. I think there are a number of ways that you all can help us make sure that we keep our priorities straight.
Yeah, thank you. It's very warm to hear that, and we do looking forward, to working with your office and more. And then I think, also, we also, as the organization here, UCA, then we also have back home, right? We have the local organizations and state level organizations, and we do hope that we can establish a partnership, and for the congressional listening sessions and so on and so forth. Be in addition to many of the camping events that we all have been participating in, but I think that's the part we're hoping will be help us to build a better partnerships. And anybody else have things to add?
Yeah, Mandy, do you have any questions for our panelists?
Offhand, everyone was just so exceptional. I really just wanted to thank you for participating in the system. We're big believers that our democracy is better the more people, participate in it. So, continue to speak with our office, to speak with other offices. I think, especially since so many of you are new to this kind of engagement, you really shouldn't underestimate the impact that your voice has. We really listen very closely to our constituents, and so use your power, make this country a better place.
And Mandy, if they want to follow up, or if they want to know how to get better engaged, what advice or recommendations do you have for our panelists and our audience?
Well, certainly everyone should feel free to email me or any of my colleagues in this office. And I think it's continuing to participate in organizations that you really care about, and participating in your community, voting, writing letters to the editor. All of these kinds of things are all ways to make your voices heard. The more that you can really be there in person or directly interacting, I think the more powerful your voice is going to be. So a phone call is better than an email. A meeting is even more powerful than a phone call, but you guys are all on the right path.
So Mandy, I have a follow-up question also. I think in one of the events we organized in the last year, in the wake of the Atlanta shootings and this and one of the rallies of Boston Commons, and the theme of the rally was called for incorporation of API history, into the curriculum. And actually, Senator sending her district director. And he was there. I forgot the gentleman's name. I have his card and this and that. So what does the role of a district director play? So shall we, is that also the mechanism for us to get in touch with your office?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that people frequently underestimate how fantastic our district offices are and our district directors, and particularly if you ever have any issues where a member of Congress can be helpful, whether, help with Social Security, help with an immigration issue, any of these things. Our caseworkers are, just exceptional, and I feel like they are pulling miracles every other day. So please consider, we work for you, we're your resource.
Thank you so much, Mandy. In our last couple of minutes, I just want to introduce Pei, who is the president of UCA, and he's going to wrap up and again express our thanks for your time today.
Hi, Mandy. How are you doing? If you can see me, I'll be in the back seat. Thank you again for stepping in for the senator, which we really appreciate her leadership on so many issues. As you have earlier talked about, that Chinese Americans and in general Asian Americans are relatively new players in American politics.